Lubbock ISD administrators say budget cuts and tax rate hikes won't cover the cost of teaching its children. We're following up on the district's multi-million-dollar deficit budget we told you about yesterday. Last night, the Board of Trustees unanimously approved its third budget shortfall in a row. This year is estimated at $22 million below revenue, more than 3 times last year's $7 million deficit. District accountants attribute the shortfall to lower attendance, what it calls strategic investments, and inflation. Now they're faced with trying to make up the difference, leaning on school consolidation and cutting jobs.
The optimization plan that the district came up with earlier in the year that we're utilizing has yielded some efficiencies, but mainly staffing and cutting campus and district budgets. We're going to have to start long-term cuts and long-term efficiency planning to overcome a $22.5 million deficit.
Trustees say closing schools and raising taxes wouldn't do enough to cover the costs. They specifically point to the state's new homestead exemption, which slashed how much value the district can tax from homeowners.
When you add all of those things together that I'm talking about, we are still coming up 8 figures short of where we need to be to fund public school, which is a right for every single kid.
If we were funded at inflationary rates, we would be talking about a $10 million surplus.
Another legislative solution the board suggested is a declining enrollment allotment that would provide districts which are losing students like Lubbock ISD a stipend to help make up for the per student funding they're losing each year. The legislative session begins in January.